John didn't move. He didn't need to. He activated his combat mode. His gloves sparked, and his body surged with energy. With a single leap, he cleared the tank's path and landed on its turret. The soldiers opened fire, but John was already inside, tearing through the metal hull with his bare hands. In a few moments, the tank was no more than a pile of scrap metal. John stood, breathing heavily, surrounded by the broken bodies of the enemy. His eyes glowed brighter than ever before, but he wasn't done. "They'll send more," he muttered to himself, "and I'll be ready." The sun was setting over Colony 12, casting long shadows across the wreckage of the battlefield. The ground was littered with broken weapons, destroyed dropships, and the bodies of fallen soldiers. But even in the quiet after the storm, John knew it wasn't over. He could feel it. The enemy would send everything they had left, and he had no intention of stopping now. John stood in the middle of the ruins, his eyes scanning the horizon. His body was battered, but his resolve was unbreakable. The people of Colony 12 had hidden underground, and the mayor had activated every defense system. But John knew it wouldn't be enough. The war machines, the soldiers, the killers, they were all still coming. A soft voice called from behind him. "Are you ready?" It was Mr. Hargan. The old man had stayed behind to help, but he was clearly worried. "They won't stop, will they?" John turned to face him. His expression was cold, but his voice was steady. "They'll never stop. As long as I'm alive, they'll keep coming. But I'll make sure they don't destroy this place." Mr. Hargan nodded slowly. "I believe in you." John didn't reply. He couldn't afford to think about what might happen. He only had one focus now: stopping the army that was coming to finish what they had started. In the distance, John saw the final wave. Thousands of soldiers, war machines, and dropships. They were all coming toward Colony 12, ready to wipe it off the map. The ground shook as the massive army marched forward, their weapons powered up and ready to fire. John didn't flinch. He raised his fist, and his gloves sparked with energy. It was time. With one swift motion, he sprinted toward the approaching army. His legs burned with power as he ran faster than any human could. His speed was almost blinding. The first wave of soldiers fired at him, but John didn't slow down. He moved like a shadow, dodging blasts, leaping over obstacles, and taking down soldiers with swift strikes. His fists crushed armor and shattered weapons with ease. He was unstoppable. But there were so many of them. John wasn't worried. He had something they didn't: the element of surprise. He reached the front lines, where the enemy's strongest soldiers stood. They were ready for him, but they weren't ready for what came next. John jumped into the air, soaring above them. He activated his combat mode, his body glowing with energy. In midair, he launched a powerful shockwave that knocked every soldier around him off their feet. They scrambled to get up, but John was already on the move. His fists tore through their ranks, taking down one soldier after another. His speed, his strength, and his skills made him a one-man army. But even with his powers, the numbers were overwhelming. Back in the colony, Mr. Hargan watched as the battle unfolded. He could hear the sounds of gunfire and explosions echoing from outside the walls. He clenched his fists in fear. "John, please." But there was nothing he could do. All he could do was trust that John could win. John continued to push forward, fighting with everything he had. The enemy didn't understand. They thought they could overwhelm him with numbers, but they didn't realize that he was built for this. He was a weapon, and he was fighting for something greater than himself now. He was fighting for the people of Colony 12. Finally, John reached the heart of the enemy army, the command center. The final battle was about to begin. He saw the leader of Protocol Unit 9 standing there, waiting for him. The commander's eyes glowed red, his face hidden behind the cold, emotionless mask of his helmet. The sky above Colony 12 darkened as the black dropships hovered, casting long shadows over the barren landscape. John stood alone in front of the gates, his eyes glowing a faint blue, his body ready for the fight ahead. The air felt heavier now, filled with tension. Cray and his raiders stood behind him, unsure of what would happen next. The Silver Soldiers, Protocol Unit 9, landed in perfect formation. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. Their eyes glowed red, and their armor made no sound as they moved. Each soldier carried a weapon that could end a life in seconds, but they weren't here for a quick kill. They were here to destroy everything. John didn't move. Cray watched nervously. "What are you waiting for?" he whispered, barely able to take his eyes off the soldiers. John's voice was low, calm. "You're not my target. But if you get in my way—" He paused, letting the words hang in the air. "I'll make you regret it." Cray's jaw tightened. He wasn't sure if John was a threat or an ally anymore. But the soldiers from Protocol Unit 9 weren't there to make peace. They were there to end it all. The leader of the soldiers stepped forward. His voice was mechanical, emotionless. "Subject number 1, you are required to come with us. Your existence is a threat to the Empire." John stood firm. "I'm not your enemy, but I won't go with you." The soldier's red eyes flared brighter. "This is your final warning. Stand down." But John didn't stand down. In fact, he moved faster than any of them expected. In a blur of motion, John dashed toward the first soldier. His fist hit the soldier's chest with such force that the armored man was sent flying into a nearby wall. Sparks flew, and the impact cracked the stone like it was made of glass. Cray's eyes widened. Did he just? Before Cray could finish his sentence, John was already moving again, faster than anyone could follow. He leaped to the next soldier, grabbed the rifle out of his hands, and twisted it with a single motion. The soldier froze, unable to react. John shoved him aside, sending him into another soldier, knocking both down in a heap. The remaining soldiers aimed their weapons, but John was already out of range. He was everywhere. His movements were so quick, so precise, it was as if he was never in one place for too long. One of the soldiers fired a burst of plasma at John, but before the shot could land, John dashed behind the soldier and used him as a shield. The plasma hit the soldier's armor, causing a small explosion. The soldier crumpled to the ground. Cray shouted, "Get him!" The raiders tried to charge, but John was already taking them down one by one. He moved like a blur, disarming them, knocking them out, making sure none of them could stop him. The last 2 soldiers remaining stood their ground. They raised their rifles, prepared for a final stand. But John didn't hesitate. With a quick jump, he closed the distance between them. One soldier fired, but John dodged with ease. He grabbed the rifle midair, snapped it in half, and then slammed the soldier to the ground with one hand. The final soldier hesitated. He looked at John with fear, the ghost of a man who could move faster than thought. "You can't win," the soldier said, his voice shaky. "We'll keep coming for you." John looked down at him. His eyes burned with a fierce calm. "Then you'll keep dying." The soldier's eyes widened, and before he could react, John grabbed his helmet and twisted it with one swift motion. The soldier collapsed. John stood tall, breathing heavily. He surveyed the battlefield, his gaze moving from the broken bodies of the raiders to the remaining soldiers. They were unconscious, their weapons useless. The fight was over. Cray stared in shock. "What are you?" he whispered. His voice was shaking, and he took a slow step back. "How are you this powerful?" John didn't answer. He didn't need to. He turned and began walking toward the colony, his footsteps steady. He didn't look back at Cray or the broken soldiers. Inside the colony, the people watched through the windows. They had seen John fight, but they hadn't seen him like this. He wasn't just a man anymore. He was a force, a weapon that had once been trained to kill. And now he was their protector. Mr. Hargan stepped out of his shop and approached John. "You did it," he said softly. John didn't respond at first. His mind was elsewhere. But finally, he spoke. "It's not over. They'll send more. I'll keep fighting. but they'll never stop until I'm dead." Mr. Hargan frowned. "What will you do now?" John's gaze turned to the horizon. "I'll make sure they don't destroy this place. And if they keep coming for me, I'll make them regret it." John Graves lived on the edge of Colony 12, a small mining town on a dry, dusty planet. The sky was always orange, and the ground was hard like metal. People worked all day digging for rare crystals. Life was not easy there. John was different from the others. He didn't talk much. He walked slowly, always kept his head down, and never joined group talks. He wore an old brown coat and black gloves, even when the sun was hot. No one knew where he came from. He just showed up one day, asking for work. He didn't ask for much, just food, a small room, and silence. Most people thought he was strange. The younger workers made fun of him. "Hey, old man John," they laughed, even though he was only 40. "Try not to fall asleep standing." John never answered. He never got angry. He just kept working, quiet, alone, and calm. But the old man who ran the tool shop, Mr. Hargan, had seen something once. One day, a mining machine exploded by mistake. Everyone ran. But not John. He walked through the smoke, picked up a burning metal pipe, and saved a boy trapped under it. His hands didn't shake. His face didn't change. Mr. Hargan saw the way John moved. Fast, sharp, like a trained fighter. But when he asked John about it, John only said, "Old habits." No one knew more. One morning, a sound shook the sky. A black ship landed just outside the colony walls. Dust flew everywhere. People came out of their homes and saw 6 men stepping out. They wore red armor and carried energy guns. Raiders. Colony 12 had no soldiers, just miners. The raiders walked into the main square, laughing, pushing people aside. Their leader, a tall man with a scar across his eye, shouted, "This is our town now. We take what we want." No one could stop them. They took food, water, and tools. They broke into homes. They hurt people who said no. The colony leaders were too scared to act. And John, he did nothing. He just watched from the corner, standing still like a statue. "He's useless," a young miner whispered. "Old man John's probably hiding in fear." But John wasn't hiding. He was waiting. One evening, the raiders came into the market. A small girl named Lily was selling her mother's bread. She was only 8. She stood shaking but brave. One of the raiders grabbed her basket. "This looks tasty," he said, laughing. Lily pulled the basket back. "No," she shouted. "It's for my baby brother." The raider slapped her. She fell to the ground, crying. People gasped, but no one moved, except John. He walked out of the shadows, slow, silent, and calm. His eyes were on the girl. Then he looked at the raider. The raider laughed. "What? The old man wants to fight." He stepped forward. "Go home, Grandpa." John said nothing. His eyes didn't blink. His face didn't move. But something changed. His back straightened. His hands opened slowly. His body was still, but strong, like a storm about to hit. The raider reached to push him. In 1 second, John grabbed his wrist, twisted it, and dropped the man to the ground. The sound of bones cracking filled the air. The other raiders stepped back. Everyone stared. No one had ever seen John move like that. It was fast, too fast, not like a normal man. The girl stood up, shocked. John looked at her. His voice was low, calm. "Go home," he said. She nodded and ran. The leader of the raiders growled, "You're dead, old man. You just made a big mistake." John looked at him, eyes cold and still. "You made the mistake," he said softly. "You touched the innocent." Then he turned and walked away. The people in the market stood frozen. Mr. Hargan whispered, "Don't make him angry." That night, the colony was silent. No one saw John. No one saw the raiders either, except for one. The next morning, a body was found near the trash unit behind the supply building. One of the raiders, his armor broken, his face frozen in fear. People whispered stories. Maybe it was John. No way, he's just a quiet man. Then why did the raider look like he saw a ghost before he died? No one knew what was coming, but something had started. The quiet man was no longer quiet. The sky over Colony 12 was dark, filled with the distant sound of engines. The calm that had settled after John's victory was only temporary. He knew the enemy wouldn't give up. They were relentless. And now, they were coming again. John stood at the edge of the colony, looking out over the empty desert. The winds howled, carrying dust across the ground. The people inside the walls were preparing. Some were still in shock. Some were scared, but they all trusted him now. He was their protector, whether he wanted to be or not. Mr. Hargan walked up behind him. "It won't end, will it?" he asked quietly. John shook his head. "No, they'll keep coming. And next time, it won't be just 1 or 2 soldiers. They'll send everything they have." A deep growl echoed in the distance. The sound of approaching dropships. John's eyes narrowed. This is it. They're here. Inside the colony, the people were moving quickly. Weapons were being gathered, and families were being sent into the underground tunnels. But it wasn't enough. John knew it. Cray and the soldiers wouldn't stop until they were all dead. The only way to protect the people was to draw the enemy's attention to him. "Everyone needs to hide. Get underground," John ordered as he turned toward the main gates. "I'll hold them off. But you're just one man." Mr. Hargan protested. John looked at him, his expression hard. "No, I'm not just one man. I'm something worse." With that, he turned and walked toward the front gates of the colony, his boots heavy on the dirt. The people watched, their faces filled with fear and admiration. Some whispered prayers, others held on to their loved ones, but they all understood the sacrifice John was about to make. He was their last hope. Outside, the dropships landed with a thunderous crash. The ground shook as soldiers in silver armor jumped out. Their helmets reflected the moonlight. This time, there were more of them. A lot more. A voice boomed from one of the dropships. "Subject number 1, you are ordered to surrender." John stood tall, his eyes glowing. He was ready. "I'm not surrendering to anyone," he said, his voice cutting through the air. The leader of the soldiers, Protocol Unit 9's commander, stepped forward. His voice was mechanical, cold. "You cannot win. There is no place for you here." John's hands clenched into fists, his gloves sparking. He wasn't just prepared to fight. He was ready to destroy everything that came at him. The commander raised his hand, signaling the attack. Without warning, the soldiers charged. John moved faster than anyone could see. In a blur, he was among them, his fists breaking through armor like it was made of paper. One soldier tried to fire a plasma rifle at him, but John grabbed the barrel and twisted it, causing it to explode in the soldier's face. Another soldier tried to stab him, but John sidestepped and disarmed him in a single move, sending the soldier crashing into a nearby dropship. The battlefield became chaos. Sparks flew. The sound of metal on metal rang through the air. John was unstoppable, moving like a storm through the enemy ranks. But for every soldier he took down, more seemed to come. They were relentless. They didn't stop. John's mind raced as he fought. He knew he couldn't keep this up forever. He needed something more, something that would tip the balance in his favor. His eyes locked on the dropships. The command center. He had an idea. If he could take out their communication system, the soldiers would be cut off from their reinforcements. It was risky, but it was the only chance. With a powerful jump, John launched himself toward the nearest dropship, using its side to climb higher. Soldiers fired at him from all sides, but he was already in motion, dodging and weaving, until he reached the top. At the top of the dropship, John saw the control panel. His hand shot out, ripping the cover off. He began working quickly, tapping into the systems with his gloves, using the old tech he'd been hiding. The soldiers below were starting to realize what he was doing. "Stop him," the commander shouted, but it was too late. John activated a small device in his glove. The lights on the dropship flickered, then went out. The communication system was down. The soldiers' orders were no longer coming through. The battlefield fell into chaos as the soldiers lost their coordination. They began to panic, unsure of what to do next. John jumped down from the dropship, landing in the center of the group. The soldiers hesitated for a moment. They had lost their advantage. But just as they were about to regroup, a roar echoed in the distance. The ground trembled again as a massive tank-like vehicle appeared from the desert. It was a war machine, built to crush anything in its path. Its weapons were aimed directly at John. The tank fired. Inside his small room, John sat still in the dark. The metal chip on his neck glowed softly. It connected to something deep inside him, something locked away for years. The memories came slowly. He saw himself in a cold lab on Earth. Bright lights, men in white coats, voices saying numbers and tests. He saw his body being changed. Stronger bones, faster nerves, eyes that could see in the dark, ears that could hear heartbeats. He remembered pain. He remembered orders. He was not just a soldier. He was a weapon, one of many. But he was the first, the original. Subject number 1, Revenant Project. The chip had unlocked his old programming, but John was still in control. He was still a man, for now. The colony outside didn't sleep that night. News spread fast. John Graves is a revenant. Earth made him in a secret lab. He's more than human. People were scared. Some were amazed. Others were angry. He brought danger to our home. One man shouted. "No," said another. "He saved that little girl. He never hurt us." Mr. Hargan stepped into the crowd. His voice was calm but firm. He could have killed those raiders on the first day, but he didn't. He warned them. He tried to stay quiet, but they pushed him. The people listened. Some nodded. Others still looked afraid. Back at the raiders' base, Cray sat at a table with a screen in front of him. A man appeared on the screen, his face hidden by shadows. "I need help," Cray said. "One of the revenants is alive." The voice replied, "Impossible. They were all shut down." "Well, this one isn't," Cray growled. "He's killing my men. He's hunting us." There was a pause. Then the voice said, "Send me a scan of his ID chip." Cray showed the image of the dog tag, John Graves, subject number 1. The voice was silent for a moment. Then it spoke again, slower this time. "You're dealing with something you can't control. This is not just a soldier. He was our first test subject. Strongest, smartest, most dangerous. I want him dead," Cray said. "Fine," the voice replied. "We'll send Protocol Unit 9. But if you fail to contain him, destroy the colony." Cray's eyes widened. "What?" "Revenants cannot be allowed to live." The screen turned off. Now things were worse. Cray had a choice: run, fight, or burn everything. Meanwhile, John stood outside the colony walls. The desert wind blew softly. He stared at the stars, thinking. He didn't want to become a killer again. He came here to escape, but he knew they wouldn't stop. Suddenly, his ear clicked. A signal. A military code, old but clear. "Protocol Unit 9 has been deployed. ETA. 8 hours." They were coming for him. John turned and walked back into the colony. He went to the mayor's office. The mayor, a nervous man with shaking hands, looked up in fear. "You need to evacuate the colony," John said. "Tell you why?" the mayor asked. "They're sending something worse than raiders," John replied. "A kill unit, not human." The mayor's face turned pale. "How do you know?" "Because I used to be one of them." The mayor didn't speak. "I'll hold them off," John said. But I need you to protect the people. Get them underground. Lock the tunnels. The mayor nodded slowly. Yes, yes, okay. As the sun began to rise, Colony 12 started moving. Families packed bags. Children were rushed into the old mining tunnels. Guards blocked entrances. People looked at John as he walked past. Some nodded. Some cried. Some still didn't know what to believe. Mr. Hargan stood at his door. He held something in his hand, a small metal box. This belonged to you, he said. John opened it. Inside was a tiny disc. It had a symbol. O1. John frowned. Where did you get this? It came in a shipment 10 years ago. I kept it hidden. I always knew, someday, someone would need it. John placed the disc into a slot on his glove. System activated. Combat mode ready. He nodded. Thank you. Then he walked toward the gate. Cray stood waiting with the rest of his men. But now they had heavy weapons, turrets, drones, and plasma grenades. Last chance, John said. Walk away. Cray laughed. You're outnumbered. John looked up. The sound of engines filled the sky. Protocol Unit 9 had arrived. 7 black dropships hovered above. Soldiers in silver armor dropped down. Their eyes glowed red. Cray stepped back. Even he didn't expect this many. One of the silver soldiers spoke. Target acquired. Subject number 1. Eliminate all witnesses. Now, Cray realized, they weren't just after John. They were going to kill everyone. But it was too late. John stepped forward. No more running, he whispered. His eyes glowed. His gloves sparked. The quiet man was gone. The Revenant was ready. Emma slowly opened her eyes. Her head hurt. Her arms and legs felt weak. She was lying on a cold metal floor. Strange lights flashed above her. The ceiling looked like glass, but showed nothing but blackness and stars. Everything around her was cold, silent, and strange. She sat up, breathing fast. This wasn't Earth. She looked around. She was inside a small room with silver walls. No windows, no door, just lights in the corners and a soft humming sound in the air. She touched her wrist. The thin metal band was locked around it. It blinked red. She tried to pull it off. It didn't move. Then she heard a sound. Hisses. A wall opened like a sliding door. 2 tall aliens stepped in. They were thin, with long arms and black armor. Their skin was gray. Their eyes were red. They looked like machines, but they moved like living things. Emma stood up, shaking but brave. Where am I? She asked. The aliens didn't answer. One of them pointed at her wristband. It beeped. She felt a sharp pain in her neck. Her knees hit the ground. But she didn't scream. She bit her lip and stared at them with angry eyes. The taller alien leaned close. You are strong, it said in a deep voice. Like your father. Emma's eyes went wide. You know my dad? She asked. But the aliens didn't reply. They left the room. The door closed. Hours passed, or maybe days. Emma couldn't tell. Sometimes the lights changed colors. Blue, red, yellow. Sometimes food was pushed through a hole in the wall. It looked like jelly. It tasted like nothing. She didn't eat much. She didn't sleep much. But she listened. Every time the door opened, she watched. She counted steps. She heard strange sounds from the other rooms. Cries, beeps, alien voices. Then one day, she heard something new. A whisper. From the wall. Hey, can you hear me? A soft voice said. Emma jumped up. She pressed her ear to the wall. Yes. Who are you? She whispered back. I'm Kyra. I'm not human, but I'm not like them. Emma was confused. What do you mean? I'm a prisoner too, Kyra said. They locked me up because I didn't follow orders. Emma sat down by the wall. What are they? Why did they take me? They are the Varnok, Kyra said. They search for power. They want to control strong bloodlines. You are special. Emma didn't understand. I'm just a girl. No, Kyra said. Your father's DNA is from an ancient program. The Varnak know it. They tracked it through you. Emma's heart pounded. Are they going to hurt me? They want to change you, Kyra said. Make you one of them. Emma was silent. Then Kyra added, but I think your father is coming. Emma blinked. How do you know? Because the stars are shaking, Kyra whispered, and the Varnak are afraid. Far away, in deep space, Jack's stealth ship moved fast through the black sky. He had tracked the alien signal. The blinking device he found in the yard had led him here, to the edge of a dark star system known to Project Echo, but feared by everyone. It was called Zone 9, a dead zone full of old ships, broken planets, and secret alien labs. Jack knew the Varnak lived there. Not many humans had ever seen them. Fewer had survived. He didn't care. Emma was somewhere inside. Jack checked his weapons. He looked at the map. One red dot blinked on a distant moon. He smiled. Found you, he said. Then he looked into the camera and sent a message. Whoever took her, I'm coming. Back in the alien lab, Emma stood by the wall, speaking to Kira again. There has to be a way out, Emma said. Some door, some system. There is, Kyra said. But you need to break the power cell. It controls the doors. Where is it? In the control room. But only the high guards go there. Emma nodded slowly. Then I need to become one of them, she whispered. She looked at her wristband. It blinked slowly. Blue, then red. Something was happening. She smiled. Come on, Dad, she whispered. I'm holding on. The night was still dark, but Jack was already on the move. He drove an old black truck down an empty road. His face was cold, serious. He didn't look like a father anymore. He looked like a soldier. He was heading to a secret place, a place he never wanted to return to. But now he had no choice. They had taken Emma, and they had no idea who her father really was. 15 years ago, Jack was not just a soldier. He was part of a secret group, a hidden unit created by Earth's top defense leaders. The group had one mission: protect Earth from alien threats. They called the unit Project Echo. Jack was the best. Fast, strong, smart. He could learn alien tech in hours. He could take down targets with perfect aim. His mind was sharp, his body trained like a machine. He had no family, no home, just missions. Then came the last war. An alien race known as the Draviks invaded a moon near Mars. They used humans as test subjects. They were cruel, deadly, and smart. Jack led the mission to stop them. He won. But he saw too much. Death, pain, experiments. He almost died too. After the war, Jack walked away. He left Project Echo, left the weapons, left the war. He wanted peace. He met a woman named Sarah. She changed everything. They had a daughter, Emma. Jack found something he never had before: love. But happiness didn't last. Sarah died in a car accident when Emma was just 5. Jack stayed strong for Emma. He raised her alone. No more war. No more weapons. Just a quiet life. Until now. Jack stopped the truck near a broken building in the woods. It looked like an old gas station, forgotten by time. But underground, it was something else. Jack pressed his hand on a stone near the door. A light scanned his palm. Beep. The ground opened slowly, and a metal staircase appeared. Jack went down. Lights turned on as he walked. Walls made of steel. Old computers, secret files, weapons in glass cases. This was one of the old Echo bases. He stopped in front of a screen. He typed a code. The face of an old friend appeared on the monitor. Colonel Briggs. Jack, the man said, surprised. It's been years. They took my daughter, Jack said. I need everything. Now, Briggs looked serious. Who? He asked. I don't know yet, Jack said. But they used alien tech. It wasn't Drevix. It wasn't anything I've seen before. Briggs nodded slowly. You're going back into the field. I'm not asking for permission, Jack said. I'm telling you. Briggs sighed. You were the best, Jack, but you're not the same man anymore. Jack looked into the camera. You're wrong. I'm worse. Later that night, Jack sat in a small room deep inside the base. He was looking at a picture of Emma on his watch screen. She was smiling, holding a small dog they rescued last year. He closed his eyes, his hands clenched into fists. I'm coming, Emma, he said, no matter where they took you. Meanwhile, light years away, Emma was sitting in a cold metal room. Her hands were tied, and her eyes were wide with fear. Strange voices echoed outside the door. She couldn't understand the words, but the sound made her stomach twist. The walls were made of silver, the lights were too bright. Everything smelled strange, like metal and smoke. She tried to stay calm. Suddenly, the door opened. A tall alien with gray skin and glowing red eyes stepped in. Its voice was cold. You're special, it said. Your DNA is different. Emma didn't speak. She just stared. I wonder, the alien said, who your father is. Emma said nothing. But in her heart she whispered, you'll find out soon. Back on Earth, Jack loaded his gear into a small jet hidden deep in the woods. It was an old stealth ship from Project Echo. Fast, silent, deadly. As the ship rose into the sky, Jack looked ahead. He had one goal. Find Emma, bring her home, burn down anything that stands in the way. Because this time, it wasn't about orders. It was about his daughter. And the galaxy was about to learn what happens when you steal from a human weapon. The stars were quiet, but Jack's ship cut through space like a silent arrow. Fast, focused. He had one target, the moon where the Varnak were hiding. Inside the ship, red lights flashed. Jack checked his weapons. His black armor was tight, strong, and loaded with hidden tech. His eyes were cold, sharp, ready. A voice came through his ship's speaker. This is Colonel Briggs. Jack, are you sure about this? Jack didn't answer right away. Then he said, they took my daughter. I'm not asking for help. Briggs sighed. The Varnak are deadly. Be careful. I'm not here to be careful, Jack said. I'm here to end them. He turned off the radio. Ahead, the moon came into view. It was dark gray with red lights glowing under the surface. Large towers reached into the sky like black claws. Alien ships moved in circles above the moon like metal insects. Jack narrowed his eyes. Let's begin, he whispered. The Varnak lab was full of alarms. Red lights flashed. Sirens screamed. A voice echoed through the halls in a strange language. Guards ran through the corridors, shouting orders. In a dark room, one of the Varnak leaders slammed a fist on the table. Who is attacking? He demanded. A robot answered in a cold voice. Unknown human ship, small but powerful. It has broken our outer defense ring. The alien leader hissed. Destroy it. But it was too late. Jack had already landed. The first explosion shook the outer wall of the base. Boom. Dust and fire filled the air. Metal flew like knives. Jack came out of the smoke, fast and silent. His black armor moved smoothly. His gun fired red energy bolts that cut through alien metal. 2 guards ran at him. Zap. Zap. They dropped before they could fire. Jack didn't stop. He moved through the halls like a storm. Every step was perfect. Every shot was deadly. The Varnak had no idea what hit them. Jack reached a control panel and placed a small device on it. Beep. The screen blinked. A map appeared. He saw rooms, doors, energy points. He also saw her. Emma. She was in the lower cell block. Jack's jaw tightened. I'm coming, baby girl, he said. In the cell, Emma felt the floor shake. Boom. Then another. Boom. She looked up. They're here, Kyra said from the next cell. Your father is near. Emma stood up. Her hands were still locked by the wristband, but her mind was ready. She had a plan. They won't take me again, she said. She banged on the wall. Kyra, if I break the cell power, can you help me escape? Yes, Kyra said. But the guards. We'll handle them, Emma said. Her voice was strong now. Not scared. Not weak. Jack moved fast, taking down every guard in his way. He was close to the prison level when a large alien stepped into his path, bigger than the others, stronger. A commander. It held a double-bladed energy staff and growled. You will not pass, the alien said. Jack raised his gun. Wrong. They'd fought. The alien struck hard, but Jack moved faster. He dodged, rolled, and fired. Sparks flew. Metal clashed. Finally, Jack kicked the alien into an electric gate. It screamed and dropped. Jack didn't stop. He opened the prison doors. Emma, he shouted. Emma heard her name. She turned toward the sound. The wall opened. Her father stood there, taller than she remembered, covered in armor, eyes full of fire. Dad, she cried. Jack ran in and grabbed her. Are you okay? I'm fine, she said. We need to get Kyra too. She helped me. Jack nodded. Show me where. Together, they freed Kyra, a small alien girl with blue skin and bright silver eyes. I'm not your enemy, Kyra said. I hate the Varnock. I want to help you. Jack stared at her for a second. Then he nodded. Stay close. Alarms were still screaming. More guards were coming. Jack gave Emma a small energy pistol. Use it only if you have to. Emma took it. Her hands shook, but her eyes were brave. They ran. Behind them, the Varnock leader watched on a screen. Send the hunters, he growled. No one escapes. Outside the base, black ships started rising from the ground. But Jack had a plan. He pressed a button on his wrist. Far away, his ship came alive. It fired missiles at the towers. Boom, boom, boom. The whole base shook. Walls cracked. Lights exploded. Jack, Emma, and Kara ran into the launch tunnel. A final door opened, and they jumped into the ship. The door closed. Engines fired. They were free. But it wasn't over. Emma sat beside her father in the ship. Her face was pale, but her eyes were full of questions. Who are you, Dad? She asked. Jack looked at her. I'm the man who's going to destroy the Varnock. He looked into space. They took the wrong girl. Now I'm coming for all of them.